Hey, what's going on out there, YouTube family? This is Sammy Leggy here representing Team JVS, here to give you guys another movie review. This movie is called The Whale. This is a part of TIFF 2022. I had the luxury of being able to see it on Sunday. And this is, of course, a Darren Aronofsky film. This is starring Brendan Fraser. This is starring Samantha Morton, if you know Alpha from Walking Dead. Sadie Sink, if you know Stranger Things. Chau, if you know The Watchmen or Downsizing, and then Tom or Thomas is the character's name, but Ty Simpkins for the role of Thomas. So this film is one of the most anticipated for TIFF 2022, and I will be very transparent with you. I recorded a whole spoiler-filled review of this movie just because I needed to get a lot off my chest about it. In the movie, I want to say twice, there's one moment. Well, before I even get there, I'm gonna go ahead and finish my statement. This movie to me is Darren Aronofsky's best film. Generally speaking, I think that he's a great cinematographer. I think he understands cinema, but what happens is a lot of the films that he does, it's just torturous. Like, there's heinous acts of malicious human impulse, temptations, or actions that spiral, right? And it's not to say that, you know, there isn't torturous things that are happening in this one from a human standpoint, but this is very different because if you don't know this, the writer of this is Samuel D. Hunter, but he created the play. This is based on a play back in, I think, 2022 of a 600 to 500 pound man that's obese that works as kind of like a pseudo teacher that tries to reconnect with his estranged daughter that he has not really been in her life for 10 years roughly, and that's Sadie Sink's character. So this is all based on the play, just for context. But I think this is a masterpiece. I think this is his best. I really do. And it's interesting because I'm not saying that, you know, Requiem for a Dream isn't something that is, you know, lined up in cinema. I'm not saying that Fountain wasn't good. I think it was definitely up there. Pi, of course, is never something anybody can forget, but with the way that this film flowed, even down to the ending is and I talked about a middle section. There's a middle section where the character Charlie, he's literally just eating a hoagie and he starts to choke. I was brought to tears by that scene, but it's not the action, is how the setup was done. It's how it was played out. It was how you started to unpack certain things from the character interactions that allowed you to be able to have an emotional reaction to a response. And so in the very last act, the last 5 minutes of this, it is hard. It is emotionally hard, right? But it is easily, I think, Darren's best ending that he's ever done. And I would love to talk to anybody that thinks any differently, because it's not just about the resolution to the film. It's more so about a understanding of why. Why is this happening? How is this happening? And what is the reason for the action that the way that it actually ends? And I think that it's completely earned. I think it's easily one of his, like, it's just a beautiful scene. It's a heartbreaking scene. It's beautiful. The score is amazing. And I'll tell you this, the score is amazing in this. When the score hits, when it's actually, like, there's certain simplistic moments. There's a moment where Charlie is, he can kind of barely get up, but he's just feeding this random bird outside. He's always feeding the bird, like, berries and stuff like that. This is the interesting thing about Charlie. Charlie, as a man, he works as, I don't want to say too much because this is a non-spoiler review, but he's a teacher, but nobody really sees him, right? And even down to people that give him food to drop off, they don't see him, what he actually looks like. And again, you already know he's estranged from his daughter, but he also had a partner, and that partner is no longer with him, as well as he also has an ex-wife that's not with him either. So he's literally just alone. So Hong Chau's character, Liz, is really the only person that goes around to see him. But now he's trying to reconnect with his daughter because he's not doing well. He consistently, anytime he's having someone tell him he needs to go check on himself, or he knows he's self-reflecting, he's looking at certain things about himself that he knows needs to be changed, he starts to eat. And I mean eat, like to the point that, and that's where I said that's where the torturous parts comes in, that Darren definitely does with every film he does. Like, is just watching him have an emotional reaction, just eat and gorge himself. It is so sad. Like, it got to a point that there was a scene in the kitchen, I almost had to look away. I couldn't bear the weight. It's not that him binging is so gross. It's more so like, why is this person doing this to themselves? And I think if you watch from point A, like the opening shot, to the end, you fully understand the why, but you don't understand how he got to this place, right? Unless you're really paying attention. And if you start to read between the lines, you start to see, like, what's the relationship with the partner? What's the relationship with the ex-wife? What's the relationship with the daughter? You start to see that even down to his actual health and his well-being, lies that he tells himself, things that he tells himself about himself, are so cemented in a different lens that you don't even really realize until it is over. And again, I think that the ending is probably one of Darren's best endings. I think that some people will look at it like, man, this was terrible, this was torturous, how dare you do this, but this is based on the play. And I'm like, the play had to have been, there's no way the play ending was better than how this ended. I could be wrong, but I think that the way he ended this is the best case scenario of how that could have ever ended. But again, you've got characters like Ty Simpkins' character is Thomas, and he is religious, and he works with an organization called New Life. And, you know, they do add certain religious undertones in this that do throw me a little bit because you don't know what they're trying to infer. You don't know if, you know, are you trying to say, you know, this person is beyond saving, or this happened for no reason, that there's nothing that can be done, and it's just, you know, your own preconceived notions about what's right or wrong, good or evil. It's just all a farce. The character Thomas, for a good amount of the time, the second half of the movie, was like, if you take Thomas out of this movie, what's the point? Right? And I think that if you don't really pay attention to how it closed out and reading between the lines, Thomas is very important to character progression, specifically for Charlie, Ellie, and even other characters, but I'm not going to go into. So it's a purpose for Thomas, but for a while I was like, man, what's going on here? I think that Hong Chau does an amazing job in this. Like, I think her character conflictions in this, I could do a whole review just based on why she's doing what she's doing, how she's doing it, what's going on with her mentally and emotionally, what is her belief system, right? Like, I could take each character and kind of break them down in so many different ways. Sadie Sink's character, Ellie, she is an evil individual. She is not a good person. Like, she is worst 17-year-old or 18-year-old daughter. But she's playing the role very well, you know? But the man of the hour is definitely Brendan Fraser, man. Because the thing about Charlie, when it gets down to it, when you start to really understand who he actually is, he's a really good soul. Like, he's a really good soul. Like, he's being very blatantly selfish. And he cares so deeply that it's literally killing him. And I think this is the interesting thing. There's a movie with Will Smith called 7 Pounds, right? And it's, to me, I think one of Will's best performances, but nobody ever talks about it. And the reason why I love it so much is that understanding of why, you know, like, why is this person doing this to themselves? Like, what's going on here that would make a person do this? And when you get that realization and you get it unpacked in a certain kind of way, and you have the right actor in that moment, you will have an emotional reaction. And that was what happened to me in the last 5 minutes of the movie, to the point that I was down weeping. Like, I was broken. I was done. I think this is Darren's masterpiece. I think this is one of his best. Again, I could find holes to poke. I could poke some holes. Like, it's if I go to the religious stuff, like, you know, certain stuff thing that was inferred and said, there's no actual resolution to character understanding. But then there's a movie, and it kind of plays like a play, but it was on Showtime, and it was with Samuel L. Jackson and Tommy Lee Jones. What was the name of that movie? I think it was Sunset Limited, I believe. I can't really remember, but it was a TV. It was a limited TV. Yeah, that's what it was. And the thing about that, the Sunset Limited, that was so amazing. It's this back and forth about what is the afterlife, what is real, what is not, you know, and that definitely is certain things that are picked apart. And I think that makes for really good conversation. Well, so I'm giving you two different controversial movies to make a comparison this to, and that would be the Sunset Limited, 7 Pounds, and maybe something else that I don't want to say because it'd be too much of a spoiler. But this, and the way that it hits this sweet spot in the middle, and the production value is so good, and then the way they progress it is so good, it's insane. Like, it actually, I am very surprised how they were able to get such an emotional reaction out of me. And again, I went out of the theater, I heard people saying, oh man, this is terrible, like how pretentious, like how this. I'm like, I don't think they knew this is based on an actual play. This is not something that Darren just came up with. And I mean, I even talked to Lucas. Lucas was like, I don't want to see this movie because I know how the play is, and if it's true to form to the play, I don't want to see it. And I get that. But even knowing what I know now, like, it's just the way that this goes easily is one of the best films I've seen this year, and probably one of the better movies I saw of TIFF. There's only one other movie that even comes close, and that's The Broker. But I'll get into that on another day. 10 out of 10 for me. 10 out of 10. I'll just leave it there. If I continue my spoiler-filled review, let me know in the comment section below if you would like for me to unpack all that and give it to you guys. I will. And I'll wait till the release date, and you guys be able to get my unfiltered thoughts on it. I had to get it all out anyway before I even recorded this. So thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell button. Go and check out The Whale. I think it is a masterpiece. Peace, guys.